Good evening everyone. Welcome to BAJIRAO IAS Academy, the Hindu News Analysis. Today is 11th August 2025 and today we have some very important topics for the discussion. So one by one, we'll try to look into all these topics in a very detailed and in-depth manner. So before going into this discussion, so please subscribe our YouTube channel and also hit like button. So the first topic with which we are going to start this session is a very important topic, which is the Election Commission of India's transparency, which is in question, particularly in the context of recent special intensive revision that has been taking place in the state of Bihar. So we'll understand about the importance of the Election Commission of India to maintain the electoral integrity and its ability to conduct free and fair elections. So this topic is very important for the General Studies paper 2 because in fact, the Election Commission of India and its ability to conduct elections and number of other aspects which are revolving around the Election Commission of India are asked multiple times in General Studies paper 2. So let's understand the context very briefly before going into this discussion. So we all knew that Election Commission of India has been conducting the special intensive revision in the state of Bihar. So the Election Commission on June 24, Election Commission announced the commencement of the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls in Bihar. So therefore, the special intensive revision has led to the verification of nearly 8 crore voters. In fact, this step was taken in secrecy. There was no transparency, but this step was taken by the Election Commission in secrecy with no prior public information or consultation. So therefore, it raises several questions over the transparency of the Election Commission of India when it comes to the special intensive revision in the state of Bihar. And in fact, the Election Commission of India has also declared that the special intensive revision exercise would be carried out or extended throughout the country. So therefore, when Election Commission of India conducted special intensive revision in the state of Bihar and it lacks transparency and it is conducted in secrecy, so there is no guarantee that even if it is extended to the entire country, the Election Commission of India would maintain transparency. There is a high probability that the Election Commission of India will conduct the special intensive revision throughout the country in secrecy. So that's where the questions are raised against the Election Commission of India's transparency. So therefore, this lack of transparency on the part of the Election Commission of India has continued to characterize the exercise on the ground. So therefore, there are several questions raised about the credibility of the process of this special intensive revision. Not just in Bihar, even if the Election Commission of India decided to carry out such a special intensive revision throughout India. So let's understand what exactly is a special intensive revision, because a number of times it is in news and it is imperative for us to understand what exactly is a special intensive revision. So this is a comprehensive, a detailed framework, and that is initiated by the Election Commission of India. Now we all knew that Article 324 of the Indian Constitution talks about the Election Commission, its functions and its powers. So therefore, Election Commission has the power to maintain and update the electoral rolls. So in fact, the Election Commission conduct elections to the office of the President, office of the Vice President, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and also the State Legislative Assembly and State Legislative Councils. I hope it is clear for you. So therefore, there is an electoral roll, and Election Commission also regularly update the electoral rolls. So the special intensive revision is a comprehensive process whereby the Election Commission update and verify the electoral rolls in Bihar before the 2025 State Legislative Assembly elections. So we all knew that in 2025 Bihar is going for the State Legislative Assembly elections. And in fact, the Election Commission of India also claims that this will ensure all eligible voters will be included in the voter list, and that ineligible or the duplicate entries in the electoral roll, such as those who are deceased persons, migrants, undocumented immigrants, so they will be removed from the electoral roll. So this is what the Election Commission of India has been saying about the special intensive revision. So I hope you have understood this. Now let's understand what are the concerns with this special intensive revision. So in fact, through this special intensive revision exercise that carried out in the state of Bihar, names 65 lakh voters. So in fact, the names of 65 lakh voters have been removed or deleted in the Bihar's draft voter list that was published after the first phase of the special intensive revision. And in fact, if you take all the constituencies, the average deletions in each constituency is 27,000 voters. So which is a huge number. So deletion of 27,000 voters in each constituency is not a normal number, right? So because of this reason, the opposition parties have been started protesting against the Election Commission's special intensive revision exercise. And in fact, the scale of deletion, so you can imagine that each constituency around 27,000 voters are being deleted from the electoral roll after the first phase of the special intensive revision. So therefore, this scale of deletions could potentially swing the electoral outcome in most assembly constituencies, and there is such a high probability. And in fact, so if names are deleted in such a scale, so they must be made public to enable a meaningful oversight and safeguard electoral integrity. However, the Election Commission of India conducted the special intensive revision exercise in secrecy. So therefore, the opposition political parties have been demanding that these deletions must be made public to enable a meaningful oversight and should also safeguard the electoral integrity as well. However, unfortunately, the Election Commission of India failed to provide a full list of deleted names. So Election Commission of India has so far not provided a full list of deleted names along with the reasons for their deletion. For example, imagine that the Election Commission of India is colluded with the ruling political party. There is a high probability that the members from the opposition political parties would be deleted from the electoral roll. So they would be deleted from the electoral roll. So therefore, there is a need for the transparency to safeguard the electoral integrity, right? So therefore, the Election Commission of India failed to provide a full list of deleted names along with the reasons. So the Election Commission of India must give the reasons also if it has deleted even a single name. But the problem here is that the marginalized sections of the society would be the most affected by the deletion of names from the special intensive revision, right? So now let's understand there is a lack of transparency in the deletion process. So names are being deleted from the electoral roll, but the problem is there is no transparency. So the Election Commission of India has not yet made all the deleted names public along with the reasons. So it has been pointing out that there is a lack of transparency in the deletion process by the Election Commission of India. So the Election Commission of India has not published a full list of names which are deleted from the electoral roll. So this is the first concern. The second concern is the Election Commission of India claims booth level lists were shared with the political parties, but without reasons for the deletion, right? So reasons for the deletion of names from the electoral roll are not shared with the political parties and the people. So if no such data is provided, and in fact without such data, parties and citizens, they cannot verify the legitimacy of the deletions. So it is very important that you need to prove the legitimacy of such deletions. Only then you will be able to uphold the credibility. The Election Commission of India's credibility is very important here, right? So if you don't provide the data, parties and citizens, they cannot verify the legitimacy of such deletions. And in fact, the deletion errors often disproportionately impact the marginalized communities as well. So as I have already told you, that the marginalized communities, they lack awareness about this, so they are being disproportionately affected by this. And even the migrant communities also, they are disproportionately affected by this. So even if their names are deleted from the electoral roll, they have no idea what should they do, right? So therefore it impacts the marginalized communities disproportionately, and it leads to the disenfranchisement and erosion of trust on the overall functioning of the Election Commission of India, and its credibility might be eroded. So let's understand about the Election Commission of India. Now, Election Commission of India is a constitutional and independent body. So if we talk about its constitutional provisions, part 15, right? So part 15 of the Indian Constitution, from article 324 to 329, part 15, 324 to 329 of the Indian Constitution. So it deals with the Election Commission of India, and this is very, very important. You just have to remember this. And in fact, the Election Commission of India conduct elections to the office of the President, office of the Vice President, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, State Legislative Assembly and State Legislative Councils. And the Election Commission of India was established in 25th January 1950. So if you look at the structure of the Election Commission of India, so it has one Chief Election Commissioner and 2 election commissioners who are appointed by the President. And their tenure is 65 years or the 6 years, whichever comes earlier. So that is their tenure. However, the retiring election commissions, they are eligible for the further appointment by the government. However, when we talk about the removal of the Chief Election Commissioner, so the resolution on the ground of proven misbehavior and incapacity, and this is almost same or similar like a judge of the Supreme Court, right? And in fact, such a resolution requires the majority of 2/3 of the members present and voting, who are being supported by more than 50% of the strength of the House, and this is being called as the special majority, right? So this is the special majority is required for the removal of Chief Election Commissioners. However, the election commissioners are being removed by the President, without requiring the special majority. Right, so what are the grounds for the removal of the Chief Election Commissioner? Proved misbehavior and incapacity. So I hope it is clear for you. And the next important topic is India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, and this could be very, very important from General Studies paper 2 and General Studies paper 3 as well. Now there is an article in the Indian Express newspaper which says that the how Gaza war delayed India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, which is India's key connectivity plan. Now let's understand this. Now in fact, what is this India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, and how the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor came into existence? What are the benefits for India, and how it is going to improve the connectivity between India, Middle East and Europe, and how this Gaza war has created number of challenges for the progress of the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. So let's understand this. Now earlier this week, India's National Security Council Secretariat hosted the envoys and officials from different countries, particularly US, UAE, Saudi Arabia, France, Italy, Germany, Israel, Jordan, European Union. So most of these countries are part of the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, particularly to discuss the progress that has been made over this connectivity project. And we all knew that this IMEC was announced during the G20 summit held in New Delhi in the year 2023, and India was the president of the G20 summit in the year 2023 to stimulate the economic development through enhanced connectivity and economic integration between Asia, Arabian Gulf and Europe. So one thing that we should understand, that it improves the connectivity, and improves connectivity actually means that it results in economic integration, supply chain resilience, reduced time, reduced costs of shipping goods from one part of the world to the other part of the world. So therefore the IMEC has a lot of potential. But Middle East is volatile area, and there's a lot of instability, particularly because of Israel waging a war against Gaza. So therefore all these factors have slowed down the progress of the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. Now let's understand this corridor. So what exactly is this corridor and what are the components of the corridor? Now in fact it is being said that this IMEC comprises two different corridors. Now the first corridor is India Gulf corridor, so which connects India with the Gulf, and the next corridor is Gulf Europe corridor. So when I say Gulf, it is Middle East. So first corridor is India Middle East corridor, and the next corridor is Gulf Europe corridor. So if we talk about the eastern leg, right, so which is the India Middle East corridor, so it will actually carry container traffic from India's western ports to the United Arab Emirates. So from that point of time, the high-speed freight railway will carry goods across the Arabian Peninsula, right? So firstly, from India, container traffic from the India's western ports, particularly Gujarat ports, Mumbai port, so they will carry the container shipments across the Arabian Sea up to the Middle East. So from the Middle East, there will be a high-speed freight railway, and that will carry goods across the Arabian Peninsula, such as UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, up till the port of Haifa in Israel. Right? So the port of Haifa is located in Israel. From the port of Haifa, so these goods will be shipped to the rest of the Europe. Now the second leg, including the Middle East or Gulf to the Europe, right? So this will be called as a second leg. So it will see a cargo being shipped from Haifa to ports in Greece, right? So a port called Piraeus, right? So therefore in the second leg, the cargo will be shipped from the Haifa to ports in Greece and Italy, where Europe's well-established train networks will take goods to their final destination across the continent. Right? So containers are being shipped from shipping to railways, and from railways to again all across the Mediterranean Sea. The containers will be shipped from the Middle East to Europe, from Europe through the well-established railway network of Europe. These containers will be taken to their final destinations. Right? So the number of ports, Mumbai port, and a number of other ports in Middle East and Europe, they play a very important role in the success of India Middle East Europe economic corridor. So therefore it is being said that the overall India Middle East Europe economic corridor is expected to cut the shipping time from India to Europe by at least 40%. Right? So it is going to cut the shipping time to around 40%. Now imagine that the traditional shipping from India to Europe, it takes around 10 days. So this India Middle East Europe economic corridor will cut the shipping time to just 6 days. Right? So but since being announced, its progress has been limited. The reasons we all knew. The reasons are because of the Israel's war on Gaza and the global instability as well. So these are the factors which slowed down the progress of the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. So let's understand about this. The India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, we all knew that it was conceived during India's G20 presidency in September 2023. Right? So in fact, it is going to improve the regional connectivity, and it will also lead to the economic integration as well. Now, in fact, the Arab normalization with Israel, Arab countries, if they normalize their relations with Israel, so we can expect stability and peace coming to Middle East, and that will also contribute to the progress of India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. And in fact, the Arab normalization with Israel created some conditions for India, Middle Eastern states and US, Europe to envision a corridor which is connecting India to Europe. Right? So that Arab normalization is important. So Arab normalization of ties with Israel. So in this context, you might have heard about the Abraham Accords. So apart from Abraham Accords, the Western Quad, where India is also part of Western Quad, and Abraham Accords. So they tried to normalize the Israel and Middle East relations. In Western Quad, India, Israel, UAE and USA are members. Right? So number of other Middle East countries also signed Abraham Accords to normalize their relations with Israel. Now, in fact, the economic case of India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor is also very strong. And in fact, European Union is India's largest trading partner, with financial year 23-24 bilateral trade stands at 137.41 billion US dollars. And non-oil trade with UAE and Saudi Arabia, they are also increasing substantially. So keeping this fact in mind, the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor is very, very important for India to further its trade, for better economic integration, for better connectivity with the Middle East and Europe. Remember that energy security is very important for India, and 85% of the crude oil is imported from other countries. So keeping this in mind, IMEC is very important for India. And in fact, it is being planned as more as a trade route. Right? So it is actually a trade route. And in fact, IMEC aimed to integrate the electricity, digital connectivity, cables, clean hydrogen pipelines, and also other measures to boost efficiency and reduce cost, create jobs and cut emissions. So therefore, it's not just about the, it's not just about the trade route. It is having number of other benefits as well. Right? So therefore, overall, it improves it integrates electricity, it integrates digital connectivity, cables, clean hydrogen pipelines, so all these things. Now it sought to address persistent trade challenges, including lack of tariff standardization, low financial integration, limited corridor-wide insurance, and varying porting capacities, while building cross-Saudi UAE railway to link its sea legs. Although these were considered as manageable through investment and cooperation, the project stalled when less than a month later a region was plunged into the ongoing conflict, preventing the first stakeholder meeting from taking place. So therefore, overall, what I could say is that the Israel war on Gaza has led to a kind of instability in the Middle East, and that has contributed to the lack of progress in the India Middle East economic corridor. So this India Middle East economic corridor is going to have a lot of benefits for India if it is implemented on a right way. Now, how this Gaza war turns the India Middle East Europe economic corridor challenges into a fundamental obstacle. So let's understand this as well. Now, in fact, the IMEC's economic rationale is strong, right? Because it is not just a trade route, rather it is having a multiple advantages or multiple benefits. So it remains strong, its hurdles have shifted from manageable to fundamental due to Israel's ongoing war on Gaza, and in fact which has strained the regional ties as well. However, the corridor's key Middle East Europe economic link, so it actually depends on Jordan Israel cooperation, now at a low point amid tensions over the Palestinian displacement. Right, so understand one thing, that the corridor's key is Middle East Europe link. So Europe, Middle East should also be linked with the Europe, and it actually depends on Jordan Israel cooperation. Right, so it depends on Arab Israel normalization of ties. Right, so therefore now at a low point amid tensions over the Palestinian displacement. So prospects of Saudi-Israel normalization have also diminished, with Riyadh demanding Palestinian concessions that Israel is unwilling to make. And in fact, the war's expansion into other countries in the Middle East such as Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and tensions with Iran as well. So all these factors have further heightened the insurance costs for the regional trade. So there is a probability that even if we implement this IMEC, the cost will be significantly higher. So therefore there is a need for the stability and peace in the Middle East for the progress of this IMEC. So India also has important stakes in this area. Right, so ironically, despite hindering the progress of IMEC, Israel sees IMEC as a crucial to deepen its economic integration with Arab world, excluding Palestine. And in fact, Prime Minister Netanyahu also termed this project as a geopolitical blessing for the participating countries. So I hope you have understood this topic, and let's understand another very important topic, which is about India's supply chain resilience. So this is given in the context of recent Chinese restrictions on exporting the rare earth elements to India, and that hit India's domestic industries badly. And this could be important for the General Studies paper 2 and paper 3 as well. And it has been emphasizing on India's supply chain resilience. So let's understand the context of this topic first. So the context is, now we all knew and we have also discussed that China has imposed some restrictions on the rare earth exports, skilled labor, electronics imports to India. So they actually signal a strategy undermine India's manufacturing growth and the global supply chain participation. Right, so China has imposed some restrictions on the export of rare earth elements, skilled labor, electronic inputs. So all these factors actually highlight a strategy to undermine India's manufacturing growth and also the global supply chain participation of India. So let's understand the rare earth elements that China restricted for exports to India. Now, rare earth elements including samarium, which is important for manufacturing of headphones, optical lasers, nuclear reactors, and gadolinium, which is used for manufacturing, making magnets, diagnosing cancerous tumors and data storage, and terbium, low energy light bulbs, mercury lamps, medical x-rays, and dysprosium, which is used for manufacturing wind turbines, electrical vehicles, nuclear reactors, and lutetium, which is used for cancer therapies, scandium and yttrium. Right, so in fact China is also one of the leading players when it comes to the rare earth elements or critical minerals. Right, so it is being said that 70 to 80% of the world's rare earth elements are found in China, and China also have the processing capabilities of such rare earth elements such as antimony, bismuth, cadmium, gallium, so all these elements. Now let's understand Chinese restrictive measures to export skilled labor force, electronics and rare earth elements to India. So China has restricted the export of the rare earth elements to India. So they buy and in fact a delayed import of capital equipment and limited skill labor for India's electronics and auto manufacturing sectors. So that badly hit India's domestic manufacturing growth, and it also creates some hurdles for India's supply chain resilience. And in fact, these measures also raise the operational costs, increase supply chain uncertainty, and hinder India's ability to be a competitive global manufacturing hub. And in fact, China also aims to project India as an unreliable supply chain partner, thereby deterring the foreign investment and also undermining India's economic and strategic security. So let's understand India's vulnerabilities in electronics. So in the year 24-25, so India's electronic imports reached 98.6 billion US dollars, with 42% sourced from China. So therefore, it has been reflecting a heavy reliance on Chinese inputs and equipment, firstly. Secondly, so India has a huge trade deficit with China in general, and in electronics in particular, it was around 60 billion US dollars, which is a huge trade deficit. And it is being largely driven by Chinese dominance in supplying critical manufacturing components to India. And the specialized skills and equipment which are being sourced from China are not easily available elsewhere, making the short-term substitution very difficult. So let's understand the policy response and the way forward as well. In fact, India's production-linked incentive scheme for electronics aims to localize manufacturing, reduce import dependencies, and address the sector-specific disabilities as well. We all knew that the production-linked incentive scheme has been launched. However, the effective mitigation actually requires high-level government intervention, interministerial coordination, and quick policy responses to industry needs. And India must engage with the global supply chain leaders like Apple to further strengthen its resilience, the supply chain resilience, and diversify sourcing, and also integrate to non-China centric production networks. So all these factors will substantially help reduce India's dependence on the other countries, particularly China. So that's all in this lecture. I hope you have understood all these topics, and if you have any doubts, so you can ask those doubts in the comment section. Thank you.